Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Unilever, it's my pleasure to introduce this morning's panel of discussion on capturing ethnic consumer. Unilever products and global brands are found in 190 countries. We want people to be able to find their product no matter where they are, and this is our way to make people feel at home anywhere. Justin Poy from Justin Poy Agency will moderate today's panel as they look at opportunities to reach Canada's diverse consumers. Joining Justin are Gavin Barrett from Barrett & Walsh, Ji Chen from Chen Enterprise Corp, Loretta Lam, Focus Communication, and Don CEO, Galeria Korea Food Trading. Please welcome our panel.
Great, good morning everybody. How are you? Today we're going to be speaking about capturing the ethnic consumer. And it's interesting, I've done a number of these talks over the years, and if this talk was even 15 years ago, people would ask, well, why is this in the big hall? Isn't this sort of a very niche topic that you don't really, that not everybody's interested in? Well, I'm sure many of you, it doesn't matter what community you live in, you've seen that through the course of our very aggressive immigration here in Canada and through just the development and the growth of our diversity, that there are many communities that are starting to move into some of your areas that you typically hadn't seen in the past. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'd like to introduce my panel. First is Gavin Barrett. Gavin is the founder and creative head of Barrett & Welsh Advertising. And they're an award-winning advertising agency that deals in the ethnic and multicultural space. And Loretta Lam is the founder and the strategic head of Focus Communications. Focus Communications is also a full-service agency. Loretta's background is in PR and communications. And she also, for the last 25 years running her company, has been dealing specifically helping mainstream companies. And I'll be using the word mainstream a lot. That's just to say, the more traditional Western companies to reach diverse communities. And to the left of Loretta, or your right, is Ji Chen, and Ji is the founder and president of Chen's Enterprises Corporation. Chen's is actually an interesting company. He started it as a company that would have the exclusive licenses to sell Western products into ethnic grocery stores. Because people who shop at the local Indian or Chinese or Korean grocery store also want to get craft products and things like that. So that's what G started out doing. He also now has white labeled and manufactures his own line of ethnic products into Western stores. And at the very end is Don CEO. Don is the senior marketing and sales for Korea Trading and Galeria Supermarkets. So we'll get started right away, and first of all, I want to ask you, Gavin, before we get into talking about products and things like that, we get asked this a lot. How do Western companies reach these communities? They're always, they may see them come into the store, but if they have, a special or they want to market a particular product, how do they reach them?
So there are, I think the first question to ask is, are you in ethnic media at all? Are you using ethnic media? First of all, actually, are you in media at all to reach these people? That's the first, most basic question. And then, are you using the media that they prefer? In the languages that they feel most comfortable in, which typically tend to be what we would call, in shorthand, ethnic media. I think most retailer and shopper marketing brands, any brands that are focused on the shopper experience, tend to generally miss the mark in this way. I think there's a focus on gen pop media because it's convenient, expedient, familiar. So there's a lot of overinvestment in mass properties, but we forget that a lot of what that does is it generalizes, what needs to be a very specialized outreach. So one of the things that it generalizes is that it ignores local community media. And I think thinking of ethnic consumers not just as consumers or as shoppers, but as members of communities that are, and these are very community-centric cultures, changes our approach to how we reach out. So, we need to be, I think we need to think in terms of, are we in ethnic media? Are we supporting ethnic media because it is useful and constructive for Canadian society as a whole? Otherwise, these voices die out because of lack of investment. So there is a responsibility for marketers to use ethnic media to support the vibrancy of Canadian multicultural society. And finally, I think we need to figure out not how we reach out in terms of the traditional platforms. We tend to compartmentalize outreach and things like we'll be on radio, we'll be in digital, and I actually think we need to change our way of thinking so that we're thinking in terms of in community. I'm using the word community repeatedly intentionally. We need to think of being in community and in the store. In community, how do we support at a grassroots level? How are we present in supporting the activities of the community? As brands, as retailers, how are we supporting the life of the community? And then at the store, we need to create, we've all heard of the moment of truth at the shelf. We need to create ethnic moments of truth. And that's a revolution in thinking that we will need to undertake. And we're very far from it just now, because we default to the old ways. I'll just close with a quote. There's a favorite of mine, a gentleman by the name of Tom Burrell, who founded one of the first ethnic agencies in North America, in Chicago actually, dealing exclusively with the black community. And he liked to remind his clients that black consumers were not just darker skinned white consumers. And leave that thought with you, because that applies to all ethnic audiences.
Thank you very much, Kevin. In retail, we love holidays. We love our holidays like Easter and Christmas and Halloween and whatnot. But when you're dealing with different communities, there are different holidays, and some of them you may be very well aware of. The ones that have become ubiquitous, like Chinese New Year and Diwali. But there are a number of other times of celebration where you can be driving a lot more traffic to your stores. And I'd like to ask Loretta, and you can also touch on media too, because they sort of intersect a bit. What are some of those holidays that maybe our Western grocers are missing out on by not capturing the different ethnic groups that are in their demographic?
So festivals are important, and I think a lot of people in this room already know that, like Chinese New Year, Diwali, they're all very key festivals. But don't let the buck stop there. There are tons of opportunities. Try to learn more about the other cultural festivals that's meaningful to different ethnic audiences. For instance, like Dragon Boat Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, Holi, Wasaki, and also Ramadan for the Muslims. So don't just, focus on the popular festivals. You have to show the genuine interest in your audience and understand where they're coming from. So there are two things that I would say that a festival can be used as a very effective connector, cultural connector, between your brand, your store brand, and the target audience. But we have to understand that Canada is very diverse. It's not just Chinese, it's not just South Asian, although they're the two largest groups. We also have increasing population in the, for instance, like Middle East, from Philippines, and from Africa. So beware of that. And as a smaller, maybe a chain brand, you have to understand where your store locates. If you locate in the neighborhood with more like Middle Eastern or more Chinese or more South Asian, then you have to customize your product carrying according to the neighborhood, right? I see a lot of the retailers make the mistake of blindly follow like Chinese and South Asian, but when you're in a location where you have a lot of Filipinos, or you have a lot of like Middle Eastern, then you have to cater according to the neighborhood. You have to understand what they need, where they buy, what they want, how's their lifestyle, what's their income like. It's neighborhood by neighborhood. So there's no one size fits all. But festival can be a very relevant connector for your brand with the audience. The second thing I would also like to mention is, don't limit yourself to the ethnic cultural festival, but also bring your Canadian festivals and make it relevant to this audience. To give you an example, Thanksgiving. So I have actually assisted a lot of clients in adapting their product by creating recipes that actually appeal to these audiences. Making integrating ingredients or anything, or decoration, whatever you have, to show them how to celebrate Thanksgiving their way and make it more relevant for them. So it will only increase opportunities in terms of sales and business for you. It's not just limited to the cultural ethnic festivals. And also I would also like to remind people that do it authentically, okay? Don't just plug and play, cut and paste. You really have to hire experts to help you, either through your in-house staff or through experts outside, to really understand the audience in the neighborhood so that you don't make the mistake. To give you an example, a local store wanted to promote a rib fest. And they thought that the neighborhood has a lot of South Asian, so it's okay to promote pork and roast pork or whatever. But guess what? In that neighborhood, a lot of the South Asian are Muslim. So you're making a wrong investment. So don't make those mistakes and be very careful and diligent about the audience in the neighborhood.
Great, thank you very much, Loretta. I do want to touch on media with you, though. And I want to get a little more granular. What are some of the platforms that Western grocers can be looking at when there is a holiday, a festival, and they want to advertise? What are some of those more granular forms of advertising that they should be in?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this, a lot of people in this room heard about WeChat, Weibo, Little Red Book. Those are the up and coming social media platform for the Chinese audience. So you have to get a better understanding in terms of how the different cultural audience use the social media. How do they use the Facebook, the Instagram, or the new platforms that you're not familiar with or your agencies are not familiar with. Study them, learn how to do it right, and then you can connect with them through those platforms.
Great, thank you. When people come here, when they immigrate here, just as if you were to emigrate to another country, you'd probably still use Facebook. And all the means that they use overseas, they also continue using here, and the communities are very vibrant. And sometimes that's the way you're going to reach the customers directly. Now, so Loretta's covered off festivals, and now you have to have product to sell. So my next two guests actually know all about what products are the latest, the hottest, and what the mainstream grocer can be carrying. I want to address you, Jeannie. What are some of the things that grocery stores should have? And most grocery stores have an international aisle. It's very hard to cover every ethnic group in one or two aisles. But what are some of the products that you are seeing in your own business that are being ordered a lot by not just ethnic grocery stores?
Actually, in my supermarket life, I know I used to operate a Chinese supermarket chain in many years ago. And actually, there are three aspects. It's very important. Which one? The first one is the daily needs of the customer. What customer need every day. And the second one is the holiday, right? So holiday, make sure you have the right product to satisfy the customer, make sure they're happy, and they get what they need. Another one, the last one is make sure it's attractive, right? Make sure you can grab the customer to your store, right? And so let's talk about the daily thing. The daily usually, the most important thing is the perishable. Fruit, vegetable, meat, fish, and grocery, bakery, convenient food. Make sure those products can fit into the customer exactly what they need, right? So let's say a gentleman walk into a Chinese restaurant, they just order spring rolls and hot and sour soup, it does not mean they know Chinese food, right? So there are a few items here, like for example, I just give a quick example. So for example, like Chinese vegetable, make sure you have Chinese bok choy, Chinese celery, which lots of mainstream, like make sure if your neighborhood there are lots of Chinese consumers, make sure you have that. Right? Fruit like durian, mangosteen, those are some fruit Chinese consumers have a lot. There are a lot of them. So in each different category, which I have to spend lots of time to explain. And also the holidays, and make sure which is very important because that can make consumer feel home, feel they are in their hometown, right? So Loretta spoke like this. Don't forget about even smaller holidays, right? So I give a quick example, like for example, in the Dragon Boat Festival, make sure you have the it's called zhong. It's got bamboo leaves wrapped sticky rice, which lots of Asian people love it. Right? And also, Mid-Autumn Festival, of course, everybody knows mooncake, right? And also in Latin Festival, make sure you have the sweet dumpling because almost every single Chinese they eat it. So that's daily, that's holiday, and then what's attractive usually it's about snack, what's more popular now, right? The snack or the seasonal fruit. For example, now it's in the season for this fruit, for lychee, for longan, make sure you have it, right? Yeah, and the display, of course, is also very, very important, right? As that when people walk into your store, they like walking, like they back to their home, right? Back to their hometown. Yeah, so in the last 15 years chance, because I used to operate Chinese supermarkets, so I know what I need. So in the last 15 years, Chance has brought almost all the mainstream products to the ethnic. So I'm the group of Chinese Virginia supermarket owner and operator. So who's in the first group of Chinese Virginia supermarket? You probably heard about it. Oceans, Foodie, Sunny. They all came from my hometown. So we all came from the same place. Right? And also, I'm also the first one who had the first East meet West supermarket. I opened that one in Brampton in around 2005. And it used to be IGA. And after I applied the concept, I was able to triple the sales. And So in the last 15 years, Chance has bring a mainstream to the ethnic, Asian ethnic. And so what Chance has been doing now is bringing the Asian ethnic to the ethnic stores and also some mainstream stores. So we already have a successful story working with Walmart and Save On Food and also many mainstream independent stores. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Lee. Now, Don, actually, I don't know how many people know this, but Koreans are known for their awesome hair. And so I actually go to Galleria to get my hair products because they have the best men's hair products. If you have dark hair, you go to Galleria, you will get the absolute best men's hair products. And yeah, the Korean products are just the best. So, Don, tell me, what are, other than hair products, what are some of the latest trends? We know that certainly Korean entertainment has become very trendy and very popular. What are some of the trends in consumer products that are very appealing to the average North American consumer? And I just want to add before that, when G was talking, it just got me thinking that not only are we talking about ethnic consumers from diverse groups that come to your stores, but also you have to remember that Canadians have become very savvy consumers. They won't settle for the westernized version of any type of cultural food anymore. They want the real thing. Certainly if I go to an Indian restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, I'll see at least 30% Caucasian customers there. there. So that is also something to consider, that by carrying these authentic products, that's what your consumers are expecting. So Don, what are some of those things that are becoming the hot trending products from the Korean market?
I have quite a number of items that are performing well, both in the mainstream and domestic markets. But my number one pick, no-brainer, is instant noodles, the spiced chicken noodles. Especially for the past 5 years, every year I see at least 40-50% growth in the sales volume, which is quite amazing. And this year for CNY, Chinese New Year Festival, and the Dragon Boat, Walmart put them in the first page flyer. The sale volume only for the Walmart was over 1.5 million a month. I do have other hot items like seaweed snacks and frozen dumplings. Nothing goes as fast as instant noodles. Inflation boosted the sale this year, actually. I think I'm going to see over 70% growth by the end of the year. People don't want to spend much money on the grocery, as we all know. You can take care of a meal for less than $2 for instant noodles. And the product itself is great. I have some samples at my booth. You can take them if you swing by later on. Instant noodle is my number one pick.
And do you find that there are some products that are being carried seasonally, specifically for a festival or a holiday, but they don't actually stock it the rest of the year?
Oh yes, Korean rice cakes. But it's only for the Asian clientele still for now. Also, I know mooncake is a huge sales in Chinese supermarkets. For Koreans, it's rice cakes. Yes.
Great, thank you. When people, if you go to the ethnic grocery stores, you will see that many of them have different options for payments. And depending on how large of a diverse community you have, you may want to look into offering some of those as well. So Loretta, can you sort of tell our audience what are some of those other forms of payments that you'll see at TNT and whatnot?
Well, TNT typically, they know what the Chinese customer pay from their wallet. They use Alipay, WeChat Pay, they use Union Pay. So those are not very common payment methods to the Canadian retailers. But I want to tell you that more and more people realize the importance of making it convenient. The reason is you're not just targeting the Canadian Chinese or the immigrants here, but also you're targeting the close to 1 million international students in Canada, and not counting the people on working visas, not counting about the temporary visitors. Okay, so adding all that number together, those people may not have Canadian credit cards, or they, for instance, like international student, the bank account is actually owned by the parents, so they actually are using the parents' card to pay for their daily livings. So if you want more business, you have to make the payment methods more versatile. You give them more choices. So look into how you can incorporate Alipay, WeChat Pay, Union Pay, whatever. And you can easily look for a financial partner in the Chinese community that can help you explore your options. So I know that a lot of the retailers, the bigger ones, are already very successful with that. For instance, like Yorkdale Mall, you see most of the retailers carry those. You see Harry Roasted. You see also like the Bricks, Leon's, they're using that already. So, be creative and explore the territory that you're not familiar with, and don't be shy, explore those options to increase your business opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Loretta. Yeah, if you want to, there are a number of companies you can call, like OTT Financial. They can immediately set you up with all three that Loretta mentioned, WeChat Pay, Alipay, and China Union Pay, all in one swoop. They set up an account, and the money goes directly into your main business account. And when you think of how many students we have overseas coming, especially from China, they're all using those forms of payment back home. So that's what they would be using here as well. And anybody who offers that, that's the path of least resistance for them. Gavin, so if there is anybody in the audience who said, you know what, I've seen a lot of overseas students moving into my area and they're coming into my store, I want to reach them, what's the first thing they should do? after this panel, if they are interested, what's the first thing they should do?
So, interestingly, beware. It's the oldest rule in media marketing book. Be where your audience is. Be on campus. Be in residences. Be present. Be visible. I know in the retail sector there's a great deal of if we build it, they will come. That doesn't work. It never actually worked, to be honest. But it certainly doesn't work with the ethnic consumer who comes from another country and has no idea about the local retail brands. They have to learn who you are, and they have to learn why they should like you, why you are better for them than your competitor. And you can only do that by being present for them visibly. So it's the same rule that I mentioned earlier. Be in the community. In this case, the student community, the international student community. Support international student activities. These students tend to group together because there is comfort to be gained from hanging out with each other. Yes, they've broadened their horizons by hanging out with students from other places and students who were born in Canada, but they also find comfort in hanging out with them, with their own community. So find those community clusters and be present and support them.
Okay, I want to drill down a little bit more. So they're all on board. They want to reach into student communities and whatnot. But in terms of the sort of the order, and I guess I'll ask both you and Loretta, the order of professional expertise that they're going to need to reach into those markets without making some expensive mistakes. Yes.
So, well, there are, are you on TikTok? You don't have to dance to be on TikTok as a marketer, but hey, that's something to consider. And a lot of our international students will not be able to use TikTok in the countries they come from. It might have been banned, or they use another version of TikTok.
The China version.
The China version
is banned.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the people, the students or immigrants, they cannot use Facebook or Instagram because their phone or their plan have not been. They want to attach to their relatives at home in China, which has banned all those platforms. So they use the WeChat and Weibo to connect with their hometown. That is why.
Yeah, and in India, TikTok is banned. That doesn't stop people from adopting these, students especially, from adopting these things here very quickly, because they're now adopting a certain freedom that was not available back home, and they're very happy to add those freedoms, and that's one of the great things that we have here in this country. And on the marketing side, that's one of the great advantages we have. We have platforms with which to engage them. So that's just one example. There are other examples, but again, it's about being innovative. For example, there are screens on every campus. Digital screens for digital outdoor advertising, out-of-home advertising. Perfect medium to reach students in their student lives. And there are other forms. The students are looking for places to live outside of residence. And there are websites that will take your advertising or your support and make you a part of that welcome that they're seeking to provide international students. Great for the brand, frankly.
And Loretta, when we've heard this many times when it comes to, I really want to do that. Set me up with a WeChat account. But there's a lot more to it than that. You got to develop the content. You have to somebody who can reply and post. Tell our listeners here what are some of the steps they would need to do to get engaged if they have decided to get engaged in social media that is not the typical Instagram, Facebook.
I love that word engage. The meaning of engaging is really to connect with your target audience effectively. Content and put it in the Chinese social media. It does not work, I want to tell you. Because the lingo is very different. The style, the way how they communicate in social media, for example, Chinese, is very different. Even South Asian, if you're using Facebook, you cannot just cut and paste in English and put it in the Facebook by if you want to target South Asian. It doesn't work that way. So you have to tailor-make your content according to the audience. Boil back to one key term that I would like to say, customer-centric. I mean, these days, especially now during the slow economy, when we are bombarded with so much information around us, I think customer-centric is the key word you have to think about. So before you make any mistake or make any step forward to target the multicultural market, first of all, study your demographics. Where you're located, who are around you, how do they spend their money, what's their income, what do they like, how do you actually bring in the product and services that cater to that neighborhood. Because of the stores, they all have to be customer-centered according to that neighborhood, number one. So you determine your product strategy and what you're going to promote. Number two is advertising and PR. How do you connect authentically to that target audience? Is it through sponsoring their cultural events, festivals? You know, perhaps you should actually go into the community, look at what they do, how they spend their money, what's their lifestyle, who's in the family. For instance, like Chinese have a smaller family size, but they can be multi-generation. But South Asian has a bigger family household. They could be several families living together. So you have to understand their needs and wants, and then you can cater your products accordingly. But without studying that diligently about who are in your neighborhood, you cannot succeed. So that's the first advice I would like to know is like know your neighborhood, hire an expert who genuinely understand and connect to the culture. They know the culture, they live and breathe in the community, so that they don't give you like second-hand advice. That's the most important thing.
That's great, thank you, Loretta. Gavin and his agency famously branded Chala Fresco, which is the South Asian brand of Fresco. Now, they obviously had determined early on that if they open a store at that particular location in Brampton, I think they have what, 2 now? 2 or 3? Four locations.
And in BC as well.
Wow. So they, and they obviously have capitalized on that. Now, many of you who have grocery store chains, you may have a large degree, maybe not enough to open a South Asian version, but you might have a lot of customers. Now, this question is for either you, Don or G. When you have Western customers coming to you to purchase ethnic product, what are they telling you? Is it research-based? Are they doing actual research? Or are they just coming to you saying, yeah, we have a lot of people asking for instant noodles, can we get those? Like, how are people coming about? Maybe I'll start with G. Why don't you start with you?
Yeah, sure. Actually, like in my supermarket life, I do observe like our consumer group every day. And the old time we did not use the data so much, but now we actually have like in chance we actually have a data analysis to analysis the customer shopping behavior, all those. Because Gavin and Loretta's job is to get the customer the customer to the store. So Don and I and me and then we need to make sure whoever visit your store, we will love your store and stay with you, and so we're doing a different type of job, which is very important. And I think doing that job is so important. That's why I think like Chance can win a TNT Best Vendor Award and become the preferred vendor, right? And yeah, the product selection is very, very important, and also make sure you satisfy the customers.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And how about you, Don?
Yeah, for Galleria, we get a lot of university students, and what I noticed from the mainstream stores where they carry our products, I hear that Korean products are exceptionally performing well if the store is nearby universities. So young folks who are more exposed in social media, TikToks and YouTube, the instant noodle that I mentioned to you, the spice chicken, is all over the social media. It's attracting all younger generations to Korean stores, and it has been expanded to mainstream big players like Walmart, Sobeys, and Domino's. We are very thankful for open-minded Canadian consumers, actually. Our Galleria store is our 20th anniversary next month, actually. It started from one single store, which was just relying on our small community base, but now it's expanding to service all across GTA. We have 7 locations, and our wholesale has been growing tremendously. we rely on social media quite a lot, actually. And it's not created by us. It's just created by the customers. Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to open the floor now to some questions. If anybody has any questions, I think we are going to have somebody bring a microphone out. If anybody has any questions. Does anybody have any questions for the panel? Otherwise, I'll just continue on. You can just put your hand up. Don't see anybody there. Okay, you can all. Oh, we have one over in the back there. Do we have a microphone? I don't know where the producer is.
Justin, while we're waiting, I want to add one comment.
Sure.
I would suggest that, I don't know how many of you have visited Asia before. I have a lot of clients who sit in their room and say they want to do multicultural marketing, but they never actually go outside North America, okay? So I urge you, in your next vacation, try to plan it in Asia and go to Tier 1 cities in China, in India, in Korea, and look at how their retail landscape look like. It can be very inspiring.
Great. I think that's a very good idea, Loretta. Do we have a microphone back there?
No?
No? Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry. There was somebody in the corner there that put up their hand there that had a question, right there. And if you could tell us who you were directing the question to, or to the entire panel.
Hello? Hello? Hi. Hi, my question is for Gavin Barrett. Gavin, I was wondering if there are any specific learnings from your time with Chow and Freshco that you could give us maybe some insight on the South Asian community or the things that you found important when you were working with Chow and Freshco. Thank you.
I could write a book. There are so many learnings from each one of the engagements we have with any ethnic consumer group. But one of the primary learnings is to acknowledge the diversity in the South Asian community. Each of these communities is remarkably diverse. We say South Asian, we tend to mean India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka primarily, but actually the majority of that, well over 70%, is just Indian. And then we think, that's easy, that's just Indian, so that's all one group. No, it's not that, because within that one Indian cluster of over 70%, or nearly 80% of the South Asian marketplace, there is tremendous diversity, there is regional diversity. And thanks to our Prime Minister, we might be seeing a little less of that concentration in, for example, the Punjabi community because of the recent kerfuffle with the Indian government. And not just his fault, of course, there's fault on both sides there. But we're going to see an increase in diversity from other regions of India. And that, so that's a learning that came out of Chavo, and that applies even more today, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. We had another question back there as well.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having such an insightful panel. Your insights are very much appreciated. My question would be directed mainly towards G and to Don, but anybody would be welcome to answer. When it comes to any types of protein trends, being specifically within the South Asian community or the Chinese community, do you have anything that you've noticed within the chains of stores that you're operating in or that you oversee that you feel could be done more differently in some of the larger chains? Or do you have any trends that you see in the countries outside of Canada that you feel would apply here for the right consumers?
So you're talking specifically about trends in protein?
Yes.
Yes. Don, did you hear the question?
No, it was a little bit blurry.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of echo back there. So she was asking about trends in proteins, meats and chicken, and how they are either presented, offered, delivered. Like in H Mart, for example, in Galleria, you get the thin sliced beef ribs that you can't get elsewhere and things like that. Are there any new trends that you can share with us?
Unfortunately, due to the NAFTA regulation, we cannot bring a lot of proteins to Canada from Korea. So that is one of the restrictions that I'm facing. There are a lot of trends going on in Korea. We just because one item that I can tell you is called samgyetang. It's a Korean chicken stew. It has been extremely popular in Asia and Korea. We tried to bring them here, but due to the NAFTA, we couldn't. But we sent the CFIA regulators. We arranged a trip to Korea to inspect the manufacturing line, and we got the permission to bring the product in. So we gotta go through a lot of hassle to do so, unfortunately. Yes. So to answer to your question, yes, we do have so many trends going on in Korea, but it's very hard to bring them in Canada for now.
Great, thank you. We are out of time, everybody. I've really enjoyed this. I want to thank all my panelists. Thank you very much, and thank all of you. You know, my panelists will be sticking around, so if you do want to speak to them and ask them some questions, please do grab them when they come off stage. Great, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Strong statement.
Okay, here we go.
According to P&G Chief Brand Officer Mark Pritchett, he said that if you're not doing multicultural marketing, you are not doing marketing. So take it away.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.